don't eat any carbs or any grains. Some other tell me don't eat, just eat protein. So I don't know what to do anymore. Some people say don't eat fruits with the meal, just fruit before the meal or later after the meal. So I don't know what to do anymore because I tried so many different way of eating that, and I didn't see any change in my metabolism.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. First off, based on the what you just mentioned about ideas that you have, that you're not, you're getting a lot of misinformation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm lost. I'm lost.
Right. That I can definitely see because all these things that you mentioned, the high protein, the low carb, don't eat fruits with this and all that stuff, that's those wipe all that stuff out. Okay. The other thing, as far as say nutrition versus exercise, we have a saying. It says you can't out-train a bad diet. Okay. So what the exercise does is it allows your body to function more efficiently, but it allows you to utilize the food that you take and incorporate it better.
Yes.
So you can exercise a lot, but if you don't put the proper nutrition with it, it's going to be a wash. Okay. So in other words, I tell people, what I tell people is don't exercise to lose weight. Exercise to make your body work more efficiently so that when you put the proper food in, then you'll get the best results out.
Exactly.
Okay?
It's clear.
So nutrition really is your foundation. That should be number one.
So nutrition should be first.
Correct.
Yes. Nutrition should be first.
This is why when have you ever heard of the show The Biggest Loser?
I heard of it, but I never watched it.
Okay. It was a show.
But I heard of it, yes.
Okay. It was a show where you would see all these people who were extremely obese.
You know what? Yeah. Yes.
Okay. They were like.
Do you hear me correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are people who were 300-400 pounds, whatever. And they would have these trainers on them that would just work with them and all they just busted themselves. They did all this stuff and they lost sometimes 200, 250 pounds and more, and you would see them, their transitions. Oh my God, they were like whole new people. Well, there was a study done that actually followed in 2008, and they followed 16 people from 2008 and they followed them. They followed these 16 people for 8 years. So from 2008 until 2016. And they found that by the time 2016 came, that 14 of the 16 people not only gained the weight back, but most of them gained more back. Okay?
Yes,
and you look at it and you say, wait, how could they go through this and lose so much weight and then gain it all back? And the main reason is they focused more on the exercise part. These people worked out hard 7 hours a day. That's all they did. They had medical staff. They had trainers. They had people standing over them. They had all these things going on all day long for weeks at a time. So of course things are going to happen. But once they left the show, they hadn't really changed their themselves. They can't exercise 7 hours a day. They don't have a trainer who's standing over them, yelling and screaming at them 24 hours a day.
Yes.
They don't have medical stuff. They don't have all that stuff. So that's why dieting. And
also, with all,
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and all this all new tendency of intermittent fasting, and so you don't know what to follow anymore. And the problem is every time I had contact with a professional, I'm very, I follow the rules very good. So usually they have an expectation, and I think I'm not the regular patient. I don't know why, but they never get the result they are supposed to get. So they get to the point when they reach almost the end of the program, and my body doesn't react the same way. So, and after, when I see that it's not working, I need their insight, but then it's like, no, there is nothing I can do anymore. But, like the last person I met is supposedly, very into the biochemistry of the body and I followed everything, but it was just based on the supplement. So for sure, when you input some new supplement that you are not using, maybe you digest a little bit better, or you have like vitamins that you were a little, and your body. But then after a while, if I stop, nothing that, it goes back to normal. My tendency is like to keep some water. That's why I know I have something with my kidney function, because as soon as, I have like some change, if I eat too salty or if I eat like meat for any reason, then, I keep water. If I, like for like this week, I quit the coffee. I didn't drink the coffee for a few days, and coffee is good too. And I feel that I have more water retention. Like during the summer here with the humidity and the heat, I always have the problem with my leg. So there is something with my water metabolism that is not working. And every time I try to explain that to the different profession, they always say, no, but it's just the liver function, or it, but I know there is something wrong with my water, because most of the time, like for example, if I arrive to the part of my cycle when we have a tenant, for me, it's not like 1 or 2 pounds of water. It can be up to 6 pounds of water. So definitely there is something with this problem of the water metabolism. So I don't know. Like, last July, I started the program with the person. So I couldn't eat any grain, carbs, fruit was just, berries or, so I followed the protocol, but, just like 7 or 10 pounds. But as soon as I stopped eating exactly what they give me, my weight goes back up, even though I don't eat, I don't think I eat bad food, I eat mostly vegetables. With the school, what I learned, my digestive system was so weak. I realized that eating raw food, because I was eating a lot of salads, definitely was not easy for my digestive system to process. So I understood. So I changed a little bit, but I eat mostly vegetables. Every like my main problem is eating in the morning, because I don't know. Like if like for years it was oatmeal, but most of the people say no, oatmeal it's not good for you, it's too much fiber, your digestive system is too weak, you cannot process it. So I don't know what, and I have this bloating problem. As soon as I eat, I have this bloating problem. So that's why now I know how it works, and I try to, I don't eat too much fat, I don't eat that much meat. um, I don't know how, where. So I've met different endocrinologue during the years. They don't find, I'm always almost in the range. So for them, I don't have any problem. But I know there is something going on with metabolism. So is it hormonal? Is it, it's what it's, or is it like maybe a problem of sugar metabolism? But every time I had an analysis for sugar, I never had a problem. Even in my pregnancies, or even I had different like sugar challenge in laboratory, I never had problem with sugar metabolism. So I don't know. Definitely the 4 years of school, it was very bad. Sitting so many hours for me was killing me. I didn't like it. So now, it's just almost 1 year now, but it was long. But still, even though I went back to my routine of doing more exercise, I didn't feel like that. I have more energy, I'm less tired, but I didn't see any change in the metabolism itself. So that's why it's my question. I didn't find yet what's wrong in my way of eating, or is it only mental? I don't know, because I know, also the stress is very important if I do, or is it like a cortisol problem? I don't know. I don't know. So that's why it's very frustrating because, and even my husband, he say, I don't understand. I don't understand. So every time, I go, people are always surprised that I'm so heavy because I don't look that overweight, but I am, 70, almost 70 pounds overweight. And I know it's not good on my joints, on my back. And, so, and, for I used to do yoga. For me, it's harder to do all my yoga pose now because my joints are hurting. And, and if I am bloated or I have this water retention, it's hard on the joint. I don't like it. So I don't know. I know that with age we are supposed to take some weight, but something is wrong. Something is wrong. And a lot of regular doctor that I went, they always want to give me like medicine or drugs. I don't want to take drugs just to lose water, or there is something I can find. I know that I need to find what's causing the problem. Even with herbs, Chinese herbs, I had a lot of problem with, a lot of like, because different teacher, they were giving me like herbs to purge or herbs to take off of the water. I cannot do it. If I take Wuling Sang, my leg after 4 or 5 hours, they are like that. So I know there is something with my kidney function. I think. So one of the functional medicine doctor that I met in 2015, he did some, I don't remember the type of testing. It was like a toxic, metal toxic testing. So I know I had a lot of problem with mercury, and I know that my level of calcium was way too high compared to the potassium, selenium, and sodium. So I had to cut for all his protocol. Everything was cruciferous, no fish, no, to cut this calcium intake. But at the same time, I cannot always eat the same thing because I was eating just like turkey, and for beans I couldn't eat. It was just the black pea beans. There was a lot of things I couldn't eat. So after a while, you can do this like maybe 1 month, 2 months, but on the long run, you cannot eat always the same food. It's impossible. So that's why I was thinking maybe you will have with my history, you will have more an idea of what could be wrong, or because it's very strange. Like for example, I cannot do anything smoke. I cannot do like I found out that if I don't buy the oatmeal no gluten, definitely I cannot digest it. What else? What other product? But otherwise, I don't think I have, because I did some also testing, for allergy testing, all this food allergy. There was nothing major. And I don't believe too much in this, test either, because if you ate something or regularly eat something, of course you have, the antigen in your. Yeah,
we had a little freeze there.
Yes.
Okay. Look, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is you're focusing on the what ifs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or what I did. Let's make the slate clean. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's not focus on what you did.
Mm-hmm.
But let's focus on, because you can say, I don't know, but let's
Okay.
make the slate clean. Okay, let's start fresh. Let me go through this, and we'll take a look at this, and then let's see what what kind of a plan we can come up with. Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's see if I change room. Okay. Let me change room because I think the internet is not okay here. Let me see if I go in the living room, because sometimes I hope it's going to be better here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go into this. So when you met with these different these different people, what type of accountability did they have with you? In other words, when you were having some difficulties with it, how often did you meet with them?
So usually the last person was supposed to see me the first month every week, and he does, muscle testing. I don't know if you are familiar with the ULAN system, the nutrition system, ULAN.
No.
ULAN. So
No.
they test each organ with like muscle testing, and they use the little vials with different concentration of different molecule, and they test, if your body is allergic to it, or if it's in sync with your not energy but your body or not. So for him, my main problem was the gallbladder and liver function. So he gave me some extract of different plants from Standard Process and another laboratory, I don't have it in mind right now, that was supposed to clean.
But how did he change your eating though, your diet?
He just quit everything that was grain, carbohydrate. It was more like based on a paleo diet.
So you were eating more meat then?
Yes, like every morning was more like eggs. I couldn't eat almost just the fruit. It was just berries, no dairy, and so no mushroom, no nothing that could bring you more yeast, in the body, or candida. So I cut everything. I did it, but I didn't. Definitely, what I was taking, all these enzyme supplement, of course, helped me digest better. I had less bloating. But if I take oregano extract pill, I have the same effect, and it doesn't change. On the long run, it didn't change anything. And when, how come I couldn't see him? I think he had a problem in his family. So for 2 weeks, we couldn't see each other. And then, we were reaching the point where we were seeing 1 month. For 1 month, the program is on 12 weeks. And, he was just testing, muscle testing, but there was nothing he brought me more. So after a while, I was busy, and then I started my practice. And
well, I'm more concerned about how often you met with him rather than all the stuff that he told you.
So I met him once a week for 4 weeks, and then it was one every 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Okay, just wanted to get an idea about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you wake up during the night, what wakes you up?
Sometimes to go to.
I'm losing you, by the way. I'm just seeing the ceiling.
Yeah. Mostly to go to the bathroom between like 11 or 2 a.m. And then I have a very hard time going back to sleep.
Okay. So do you have a hard time falling asleep in the beginning?
No.
But only during the night?
Yes.
What's going through your head when what's going through your head that makes it so that you can't fall asleep?
It's just I'm too awake I'm too awake.
Okay.
So definitely the last few weeks, and also I know that for the Chinese way, some yin deficiency definitely, because I have that feeling of burning leg. I'm always cold at the beginning of the night, like 9 to 12, and after 12, I have this feeling of heat in my leg at night.
Okay.
And
Are you going through menopause at all?
yes, definitely.
When did you start that?
Recently, my cycle became irregular since November. So it's like 4 months now, for 6 months.
Okay. So when you, how much coffee are you drinking now?
Now, nothing. But usually it's 1 cup in the morning. Large cup, a big,
Large meaning how large?
like 8 O's, the big mug.
Okay. All right. What do you put in it?
Usually black or some coconut oil.
Okay. Okay, so you're drinking, now I have this, so how much water do you drink a day? Do you drink at least half your body weight in ounces in water?
Oh, yes. Because usually in the morning I wake up, I always have like warm water with apple cider vinegar, a big glass. Then later after my walk, I always drink some greens, some spirulina or chlorella, or a green juice like celery juice, and then I have my breakfast around 7. And
Right, yeah, you
during
have
the
the time here, yeah, okay.
yeah.
All right, so, yeah, so some of the things I had on the meals themselves, we're gonna go over that in a few minutes. Now it says here, it says, how often do you skip meals? And you say often.
Yes, since I started my practice, yes, because I have to be at the, most of my patients are between like 10 to 4, and
All right, but
I don't.
all right, so you understand skipping meals slows down your metabolism.
Yes, I know.
Okay,
I know.
so if you want, the best way to actually speed it up is to eat. But we want to you don't want to skip meals, because actually one of the problems with skipping meals is that your body goes into a state of survival. So when you're skipping meals, your number one, your blood sugar drops. Okay, you end up, your digestive system starts to slow down, and you actually start burning muscle tissue and conserving your body fat.
Okay.
Okay, so because your body's looking for an energy source, and if you're not feeding it, where's it going to come from? And it's not going to use the fat because it's using that for survival. So it actually will break down muscle tissue, and you'll use that. And that in itself can cause the lack of eating can cause fatigue, because your body's just not getting the nutrients, not getting, you can't, it's like trying to run your car on fumes. It's not going to run. So you have to find time to give yourself, there was, at the clinic I was working at in Boca, one of the girls that are working, she was working 52 hours a week, and she wasn't eating. And I kept, and then something, when she did have a chance to eat, she would sit down, have a little bit of bite, and also, oh, your patient's here, and she'd be running off again. But she was always tired. And so I was telling her at that time also, you have to put yourself, you have to feed, you're moving around, you're going around. Where's the energy going to come from? Okay. And as a result, you can see she always had this blasé feeling. Okay. She was happy and all when she saw, but she would like crash at the end of each day. Okay. So the idea is that you've got to give yourself that time to eat, even if it's a small amount, but you have to feed yourself. You've got to give yourself fuel. You have no fuel. What are you going to run on? So skipping meals, you really can't do that. I would also, part of, you say also you eat while you're watching TV. That also can cause some stress, because when you're eating, when you're watching TV, you tend to be focused more on the TV and not be so mindful on what you're eating. So you might tend to eat a little differently, or a little bit more sometimes, or maybe sometimes the wrong foods. because your focus is not on your eating. It's more on the TV. So when you're eating, your meal time should be a meal time where you can focus in and be mindful of your eating itself. Okay, because that can make a difference also, especially if you're watching a TV show that maybe might excite you of some sort. That means your digestive system is going to be closing down a little bit, because every time you have a cortisol release, your digestive system slows down.
Okay.
Now you're giving it, you're trying to give it food, and your digestive system's slowing. You're not going to get the digestion that your body needs. Okay. And then you do want to also give yourself that need. Even when you're working, exercising a little bit. You don't, like I tell people, you don't have to go to a gym. Okay? You can park further away and walk. Okay. When you have between patients, you can do a little. So you can do some jumping jacks. Moving, stand up, sit down, whatever it is. So the idea, exercise doesn't have to mean specifically going to the gym or lifting weights or something. Yeah. When we talk about exercise, we talk about lifestyle activity. It means you got to move. Sit less, move more. Okay? So just by moving more, your body will you're using it. You're going to use 3 times more energy standing than you do sitting.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I do, I don't have it here, but I have over on the side, that a lot of times if I'm going to be sitting for a while, I have one of those exercise balls. And I sit on that rather than sitting on a chair.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting on that ball, every time you move, your body has to adapt, and the muscles contracting. So there's more movement there. Okay? So you got to find yourself some time to exercise a little bit more as well as that too. Okay? And you'll find that by stress in itself is going to change your eating habits. Fatigue is going to change your eating habits. I love Chinese medicine, but if you focus in on liver qi stagnation or that's not really going to help. No. Because what ends up happening is, yes, you might put the needles in to change the spleen qi deficiency, and then you take herbs that are going to regulate your all this stuff. But it all comes down to what you put in your mouth. Okay, this is one of my gripes with people with weight loss with acupuncture. Well, I'm going to put some needles in your ear. Okay, all that's going to do is it's going to restrict your eating.
Yes,
but it's not teaching you what to eat.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's why I love Chinese medicine and all that, but the one thing, a big problem that I've learned, that I also saw with this Chinese doctor in Boca, was that she never asked any questions. She did all the talking, and she never really got this information from the patient. And she would just say, "You have this," and she would immediately start them on herbal formulas. Now, let's say you would take a formula and the formula wasn't having difficulty with it. Either you modify the formula, or you change formulas. She wouldn't do that. She just added more formulas on. So they're taking formula upon formula. They're taking 4 or 5 formulas. No, you can't do that. The other thing I found that she was doing is she was relying strictly on the needles and the formula. She never made any lifestyle changes. She never asked one person. She never asked them what their diet was like. She never asked them about their dietary patterns, their bowel movements, their urination, none of that stuff. Their sleep patterns. And it's like, but they love her because she's this wonderful person. She's crappy to her staff, but she's wonderful to the patients. So we want to make some so I got involved about 2 years ago with an organization called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. These are Western medicine physicians that got sick and tired of the Western medical treatment.
Okay.
And what they do is they use lifestyle medicine. They use lifestyle habits and behaviors first, and then if needed. Now, when you learn about what the whole concept of yin and yang are from Chinese medicine, Chinese medicine is yin and yang. It's everything. It's not just one thing. So that's why it has to be an overall lifestyle change. It's all about putting the body into balance, which means nutrition, which means exercise, which means sleep, which means stress, which means hydration, which means community development, or people that you're with, the community you're with. It's all about
holistic, yeah.
Holistic, but it's all about balance.
Yes.
You have to have that balance. Okay. Okay. So also, I see you went on a lot of different diets, but that's what they are. They're diets. Okay. They're not. I always tell people there's three things you want to be aware of when you're doing any nutritional or lifestyle change. Number one, is it based on your physiology? Okay? Now, we might have certain differences, but basically the basic foundation of our physiology doesn't change. Same for everybody. Okay. You might have little modifications, but basically the basic foundation of our body physiology, it doesn't change. Okay. They've done studies on people, literally hundreds of thousands of people in one study. Now, you don't think there's going to be differences in those people? Okay? But yet when they all do this nutritional program that's based on the physiology of the body, the majority of them have incredible results. They don't test them to see, do you have spleen chi deficiency? Do you have liver chi stagnation? Do you have yin deficiency, yang deficiency, blah, blah. They don't test that. These are people. They have their physiology. So we want to focus in on that. So a lot of these diets, so number one, is it based on your physiology? Number two, can you do it for the rest of your life? If you can't do it for the rest of your life, it's not worth doing. Like it says in the Atkins diet. The Atkins diet is very similar to keto.
Yes, yeah, no, I couldn't. I did it like just a few weeks.
It's horrible. It's horrible. The only one really that you had that was the two actually. One is vegetarian, but I'm going to show you some changes in that.
Okay.
And the other one is the Mediterranean diet. But the traditional Mediterranean diet is not the same as it is today. Okay. Yeah. So that's the closest to what you want to be. But we'll make some changes on that as well. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So and I did notice in your fasting blood sugar, although was in range, but it still seemed a little high. Okay.
Yes, last January, yes. I think it was, I mean, not last, it was the...
It was 101. It was 101, which falls in about the mid-range of where it should be. It's in the zone, but from a fasting standpoint, it actually should be a little bit lower.
Yes, but I went just after Christmas time. And that winter, I had visit from France, and we went out much more than I usually go.
Right.
I think, yeah, it was not my normal.
Yeah, actually, that was a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yes.
So we asked you to do it. Do you have access? Do you have access to get blood work done?
Yes, of course. I think so. Yes.
Yeah, because I know as you can go through direct labs, we can do it for people. We can do it for ourselves too. It might be worth actually getting a new, because a year and a half later, that's a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
You might want to do that. That way to give us more of an updated value as to where you are, because your cholesterol was really high, and but we don't know where that is now. So we don't know how the adjustments have been, and it's good to see what those are. Okay. Okay. So again, we know we have all those different things. So as I tell people, and again, don't take this the wrong way, but when you say you had family and friends and all this stuff, if you're committed to what you're doing, it shouldn't matter. Just because your friends are there doesn't mean you have to have a donut. Just because your friends are there doesn't mean you have to drink. You know what I'm saying? Is that you want to be committed to what you're going to do because it's your health. So it's not based on what they do. You have to be committed and strong on yourself. Just to give you an example. Okay, I'm Jewish, and growing up, I always kept kosher. Okay, and even to a good part of my adulthood. And so when I would go to people's homes or I would go out someplace, they would have all these different all these different foods. And I'd say, that's not for me. I cannot have that. This is what I'm having. And people respected that. So you have to, the same concept is you have to respect yourself and your health and don't make exceptions for whatever those things are. Okay.
Yeah. It's easy when you are invited and, but when you are the one who has to prepare the meal and I don't do a meal with 3, but French people, they have to have an appetizer, an entree, they have to have a meat and, and then cheese and then a dessert, and wine.
Nobody says that, but nobody said that you have to eat all that.
Yeah, yes, but when you stay 2 hours in the kitchen, then you need to eat, because I don't overeat. I never eat more than, I don't eat big portion. I don't think I eat big portion. So, but it's just the change because I was eating things that I'm not used to eat.
Right. Definitely. And you'll find, my girlfriend and I have both gone more whole food plant-based in the last year. And it's interesting because every once in a while, we're probably about 95% plant-based. And every once in a while, we'll have something, like we might have something with chicken in it or something with cheese in it. And you know what? Our bodies don't like it. And
I know.
Because one of the most important aspects of your body is your gut bacteria, your gut flora, the microbiome of your gut. And that's what you want to change. Because when you start changing your gut bacteria, you'll find that there's certain foods that you normally would have liked or eaten before that your body's going to reject it because the gut bacteria is going to say, whoa, we don't want this now. So that's what you want to focus in on. If you change your gut bacteria, you will change everything. And they've proven this whole concept of the lifestyle medicine. They'll show people, in fact, when you research diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, stroke, cholesterol, all these diseases that people have, it's not a different diet for each disease. You don't this disease, you don't eat this way for diabetes, but then eat this way for heart disease. We have certain genetic predispositions that we have. What happens is how when you take a medication, it'll tell you that if you take this medication, this is a great medication, but may cause these side effects. Now, why is it that some people may have no side effects, some people may have mild side effects, or some people may have severe side effects, all taking the same medication with all the same disease? It's because that's where the genetics comes in.
Yes.
Okay. Same holds true with your nutrition. Okay. And with disease is that foundationally, our bodies are the same.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, the food that you give that a person, if it's bad food, whatever it is, some people might be fine with it, but some people might develop some kind of a disease with it. It's not what happens is that's based on the genetics. So foundationally, our body is the same, but the genetics determines how well you take it and the result. So there is no specific diet for each one of those. It's the same nutrition for all of them, but it's the way the body was meant to be fed.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, also, when you mention here on stress, you mentioned you do some meditation, you do some physical activity, distraction. If I may recommend, journaling is really good because a lot of times you say, and you've said this a few times, I don't know why. I don't know why. One of the benefits of journaling is you get a chance to know why. Because as you're doing something, as something's happening with you, you write down these things on a regular basis. Write down what you ate. Write down what you were feeling. Write down when I woke up in the morning, journal what your sleep was like. This way, you actually see it on a regular basis, all these things happening. Now you can see where things might be imbalanced. Oh, you know what? I noticed that I had this situation happen. I ate this food, I had this situation, this is how I felt.
Okay.
So journaling is actually very good for you because it gives you automatic feedback. Gee, last week I did this. Yeah, I don't know what I did last week. Oh, hey, it's right here. This is what happened last week. So you can have that on a regular basis visual to exactly see what's going on. Journaling, I definitely recommend journaling. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Some of the things we are good, so we don't have to focus in on one. Okay, so do your thoughts and feelings affect your physical health? And you say often. So how do you what stresses you? What is it that you feel gets you stressed the most?
Not since 2011, actually for many years, there are always daily situation or life situation that I had to go to big period stress. Like why I came to study Chinese medicine, we had a huge car accident in 2011. We were driving on the highway and someone at night, 4:30 in the morning, hit us from the back and we almost all died. My daughter was really hurt. So this was like 2 years of very high stress because I had to take care of her, then had to battle with, insurances and all bills. So it took me a while. So I'm pretty sure in 2012, I had a depression without realizing it.
Right.
So I didn't have any treatment, and it really taxed my body and my mind and my body without noticing it. And then at that time I was I was going to weight training twice a week, very regularly, just to keep in good health. And to one point, I couldn't anymore. I didn't have any strength. So my trainer told me, there is something wrong. So at that time, that's why I started that diet with ACG, because I was thinking, I was too heavy and it was tiring my body. ACG diet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but this diet worsened the situation because I was already tired and and as soon as I stopped, but I trusted the doctor because she was my gynecologist and she knew all the problem I had. So when she advised me, it's going to help you, I was really trusting the process.
Right.
But then it completely depleted my whole energy. So this was done in July 2012. And beginning of 2013, I couldn't manage anymore. I was too tired, very, very tired. And it took me like 1 year, but at that time, I think, but I didn't, had a chance to go to, I think I had problem with my thyroid because I didn't have any strength and was losing my hair and my skin was very dry. So I think I went to a point, I was eating vegetarian. All this time, I was only eating vegetarian. So I think I was really depleted.
A lot of times people who eat vegan or vegetarian, a lot of times they think they're eating right, but they're not. They're missing a lot of nutrients that their body needs.
Yes.
They really don't understand what it is or really how much or whatever they should eat.
Yes.
So yeah, that's important. And the other thing to understand too is doctors are not nutritionists. Doctors only know how to treat. See, if a doctor's giving you, diets don't work. But you see, that's all the doctors don't understand really the physiology of the body in that sense. And I have talked to doctors about nutritional kinds of things, and they look at me like I'm talking Spanish to them, and they don't speak anything, So the idea is that they really don't. They get very little to no education of nutrition in their program. So for them to actually, they're going by what's on a piece of paper rather than to really work with you. So doctors really aren't the people to go see on that. So the thing is that what about the things that stress you now? That was 7 years ago. What about now?
No, now, like until last year was school. You know, I studied because I was still working full time and studying, you know, at night and you know what it is to prepare for the boards. So the last year of school was studying for school plus preparing for boards exams. So, you know, it was studying. I studied like 8 hours a day, and, you know, it really was hard on, you know, mentally, and it was more like the energy. And to study, you have to stay seated. You know, I was less active than I usually.
You probably weren't eating that much either.
Yes, not regularly, definitely.
Yeah. See, just like anything else, we are, you know, even when you take a look at the Chinese clock, okay,
yes,
everything is all certain times of the day. We are creatures of habit. We are creatures of routine. And once you go off that routine, your body's gonna fight it. Wait a minute. You know, it's like, isn't it this? My cats. I know my one cat. You know, he's jumping in my bed literally within 2 minutes before my alarm goes off. Close. Okay?
Yeah.
Your body knows when it's time for things. You know, I always tell people, I always ask people, you know, who have kids. I say, what is the 2 most important schedules to keep babies on? And that's eating and sleeping.
Yes, exactly.
Because when they're off their schedule, they're miserable. Guess what? We're just big babies. Our physiology didn't change. Right? And so we go off those schedules. We change the way we eat. We change the timing. We change the sleeping. And we need to go back to what we did when we were babies.
Yes, exactly.
Our body will respond that way. Okay? Like a mother knows, the baby only knows to cry. But a mother knows when they're tired, when they're hungry, when they got a dirty diaper, and when they want to play with the same crying, basically. Okay? Why? Because they know the schedules.
Yeah.
Okay? But yet as we get older, we go off these schedules. And then we wonder why our body's not functioning the way it's supposed to. Okay? So we need to go back to timing.
Okay.
Get our body back on a schedule. And no matter what, I started a program back 8 years ago where I'm eating literally every 3 hours.
Okay.
And I eat literally, I mean, I would sit there and watch my clock. I knew 3 hours, I have to eat. I don't care what I was doing.
Okay.
No matter what I was doing, I was eating every 3 hours. Okay. And what was the other part? And it was different foods, but your body, I know, my body even knows when it's time to have a bowel movement. It knows this time of the day it's going to happen. Okay, so those kinds of things are important. So your body needs to be on a schedule, and once it's on a schedule, and the reason why your metabolism doesn't change necessarily is because your schedule's off.
Yes.
Your body doesn't know. And the other thing I show people also is, yes, you can change your metabolism, but you have to maintain. If you're on a program that's gonna change things, you can't have a start and finish and say, "Oh, my metabolism changed." Your body doesn't recognize it. Okay, so you have to keep going, and the longer you are with a program, the more your body will recognize it, the more your metabolism will change. You have a start and a finish, your body's just not going to recognize it. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some of these things. Okay, we know we have that part. So who do you go to when you're sick?
Right now, I don't even have a regular doctor. Okay. You know, during the 4 years I was going to the school with the acupuncture, I'm almost never sick. I'm never sick. So
that's good. Well, see, everyone's body responds a little bit differently, and that's why it's important to know all these things. Okay, so I'm looking here. So you feel bloated a lot?
Yes.
Okay. How often do you urinate as often as much as you take in?
Yeah, I have a tendency to urinate. Right now, I think that's why my adrenals must be very active. I have a hard time. I always have urgency to urinate. Like if I drink too much, like in 20 minutes, I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been like that. When I walk in someplace, some building, the first place I look for is the bathroom.
Yes, yes. So I'm thinking, how come?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's better to go more often than it is to not go at all. What about
Yes, yes.
bowel movements? How many bowel movements do you have a day?
You know, uh, right now it's like twice a day, in the morning and at night.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good, good. Um, and okay, we got that. Okay, we already were there. We discussed that. Okay, attention, illumination, okay. Okay, we had that. We talked about the cholesterol. Yeah, you want to get a new blood test because we want
Yeah.
to see where your cholesterol is, and that way it's also a good idea to be able to know if you're going to change your cholesterol. It's good to know where you are from that standpoint. Your
Yes.
sugar level, your blood, your cholesterol, that because those can see. Then you can really see what changes are being made.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So basically, what I do, what I focus in on. Oh, I know what else I wanted to say. All right. So a little bit about food. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we know from Chinese medicine that dairy is one of the worst foods you can have.
Mm-hmm.
Dairy includes milk, cheese, any of those things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to eliminate all dairy products
Okay.
because it's very bloating, it's very
Mm-hmm.
inflammatory. And also, let me just back up one little thing here. The only place to get cholesterol is through animal products.
Yes.
Okay, there's virtually no cholesterol in plants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have no dietary requirement for added cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a tendency to have to gain, then any animal product you have, meat, fish, dairy, eggs, are going to increase your cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
There's two hormones that come from them, chemicals. They are choline and carnitine.
Mm-hmm.
Choline and carnitine come from meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. When you're ingesting those, those foods metabolize in your gut
Mm-hmm.
the choline and carnitine and produce something called TMAO.
TMAO. Okay.
TMAO, called trimethylene N oxide.
Okay.
TMAO is a result of this carnitine and choline metabolism in your gut. And what the TMAO does is it causes the cholesterol to build plaques in your arteries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They did a study with a group of vegans where they gave them straight carnitine to see how the body would respond to it. And there was virtually no response to it. The reason being is they don't have that gut bacteria that responds to it.
Okay.
So by eliminating those foods, you start to make those changes in your gut bacteria, which is going to make those changes. It's going to clear up your arteries. Okay. It's going to feed your brain more. It's going to give you more energy because you're getting better circulation. You're getting more nutrients. As I tell people, you don't need milk. You need calcium. You don't need meat, you need protein.
Yes.
Okay, you don't need processed sugar. You need fruits.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so every nutrient that you need, you can get from plant sources. It becomes more of a desire rather than a need. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So we want to make sure that the more plant sources that you can add to your diet, the better your body's going to be. Now, there's this whole thing with the grain, and I'll get in that with a minute. I disagree with that, the theory of the grain. I'll tell you why in a minute. So we want to make sure that each meal has a balance of protein, fat, and carbs.
Yes.
Every meal has a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs. And you can get sufficient protein, fats, and carbs all from plant sources. Okay, I've been doing that. I've been doing it for about the last year and a half now, and there's virtually no need to have meat sources or animal product sources. I was not one to believe this. I was one to say, no, I have to have my steak, or I have to have chicken, or I have to have this. But the more I studied it, excuse me, the more I realized. And then people would say to me, I've heard even some nutritionists say, no, you need your complete proteins, and you can only get those from animal products. And I believed it, but I've since learned that's not true. Okay, we are not a protein deficient society. We are a fiber deficient society.
Yes.
And for anyone to tell you that there's too much fiber has no clue to what they're talking about. Okay. We are a society that has, and there's virtually no fiber in animal products.
No.
We are a fiber deficient society. They've taken a look at societies which have the longest living people with the lowest rates of disease, and they have the highest levels of fiber. Okay. Because their diets they're right now. Have you ever heard what they call the blue zones?
Yes.
Okay. It's 5 areas of the world that are referred to as the blue zones. These are communities or people that have literally the highest rates of longevity, the lowest rates of disease. It's Icaria, Greece, Loma Lima, California, and I'll tell you about that for a second because you go, wait, that's not a society. There's Okinawa, Japan. There's I forget the name of the place in Costa Rica, and then Sardinia, Italy.
Yes.
And they are between 90 and 100% plant-based. One of the differences is in the Western culture, we focus in on our protein, on our meat. Okay, we have this big plate of meat and a side dish of veggies. Be the other way around. In these countries, even the traditional Mediterranean diet has meat very rare.
Yes.
But the portion that they have is more like a side dish. Okay, because it's not the staple of them. The staple is plants. Okay, they don't have any dairy, and we also take a look at the dairy that we have, the meat, I should say, even that we have now. Back in the olden days, that they had their own farms. They would go out in the backyard, they would slaughter their animal, and they'd eat it.
Yes.
The animals were healthy. Now everything's all farm raised.
Yes.
Even the quote grass-fed ones are still farm raised.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just not the same. Okay. So we want to eliminate. We also know that in everything that's farm raised, they're high antibiotics, growth hormones. All the feed that is all GMO, which kind of brings me into the grain aspect of it. Grains are not bad for you. Grains are very good for you. But yet what you have to be careful of is you want to make sure there's non-GMO, organic.
Okay.
Because when you have a lot of grains that we have today are GMO.
Yes.
Okay, they are not organic. So yes, there's going to be a difference, and also the gluten is different because it's not we are not gluten sensitive.
Sorry.
We are
No.
pesticide
Yeah, exactly.
sensitive.
Yeah.
So what happens is that because there are people who are totally gluten intolerant here, they go over to Europe and they have it fine because they don't use the pesticides. So if it has to be non-GMO and organic, and then you won't have that specific issue with the grains because grains are very good for you. Okay. So basically, what we want, if you focus in to understand and this whole idea of not having, having only berries and not other fruits and all the fruits at this time, again, it's BS. Okay. Fruits have extremely high levels of antioxidants, fiber, and phytonutrients, which you can only get from them. And we want a variety of fruits and vegetables. And to say that you can't have this at the same time as that, that's baloney.
Okay.
That's a fad kind of a thing. Okay. If your body was, you can give it to, you do it to a child, so how come all of a sudden we can't do it to ourselves?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it okay for a child to have grapes with their whatever, but we can't as adults? Physiology hasn't changed. So what we want to try to do is to change our gut microbia and give the body what it needs. Now, there might be some changes along the way, but what's going to happen, your body will adjust. Okay, it will adjust. The other thing I tell people is you don't have to go from here to here. If you make small steps along the way, okay, your body will, okay. What happens with a lot of people is that they go all in.
Yeah.
And also they go, I can't do this.
Yes.
Nobody said you have to go all in. Look, you didn't get where you are, going from here to here.
No.
It was a process that brought you there. Just like it was a process that got you there, it's going to be a process to bring you back. Okay. So until things change in your gut microbia, you may still have some changes.
Yes.
But staying the course on it over that time, your body will adapt to it and you'll have tremendous success with that. And they also show, first off, lack of sleep is referenced to depression as well. So when people are depressed, the first thing doctors do is put them on an antidepressant, but they don't change their sleeping habits. Or they'll give them a sleeping pill. But that means their sleep now becomes dependent on the sleeping.
Exactly.
So we don't want to become dependent on sources. Same thing with with the acupuncture. It's like giving standard process. Well, let's just give you this capsule.
Yes.
It's not changing things, okay? And then let's say it does, but like you said, as soon as you go off it, your body goes right back to where it was.
Exactly.
It didn't make the change. Go on these diets or these supplements or things like that, and they feel great. Oh, I feel great. I don't need to take these anymore. They go off the supplements, everything else, and all of a sudden their body goes back to where it was. So we need to make changes. Now, the one thing I even learned just recently is about the whole thing about probiotics, is that probiotics are great, but they're not enough. Because probiotics, we tend to look at probiotics as the number of bacteria in them. But it's not based on that. It's the number of strains.
Yes, the different.
Thousands of strains of bacteria. But yet, I've got this probiotic that has 18 strains of probiotic. Well, but there's thousands of them.
Yes.
So it's actually more beneficial to have the probiotic foods. Okay, because then your body will now
Yes.
adapt to all those foods that are giving it to you rather than on a pill. Okay,
Okay.
that's just something I learned
Yes.
too. So there's certain foods obviously you want to stay away from. Okay.
Okay.
Number one, we want to stay away from dairy. We want to stay away from all processed foods, from any added sugar. We don't need added salt.
No.
Enough sodium in our foods that we don't need to add it. People say, well, Himalayan salt's better than table salt. Yes, it is, but it's still added sodium. And sodium absorbs water. Okay, so we want to eliminate added sodium, added sugars, and also we want to reduce or eliminate oils.
Oils.
Yes. Now, I know you said you use a little coconut oil. Coconut oil is very high, even though it's plant source, but it's still high in saturated fat. Another thing about oils are 100% fat, which means they're extremely high in calories. There is no nutrient value in oils, none.
Okay.
Because because where oils come from, whether the coconut, the olive, the avocado, all those things, that all the nutritional value is totally wiped out. Okay.
Yes.
And so all you're left with is pure fat. So oils are very high in calorie and saturated fat, which you don't want.
Okay.
I mean, even from a standpoint of coffee, you know what I'm using now is oat milk. Oat milk is good, but I don't get oat milk with all the extras in it. I just get plain, it's oats and water. And that's it. Okay? So whatever milk alternative that you're going to use, make sure it's just that alternative and not add extra into that, because again, they add more added calories.
Yes.
That too. Okay. So what I teach people to do, so as far as your, people don't understand the word carbohydrate. It's a low carb. That to me,
no.
There's an apple and there's a donut.
Yes.
Both carbs. So I don't like to use the word low carbs or no carbs. Vegetables and grains are all carbs.
Yes.
They all process into sugars. Okay. When you're having, we also know that diabetes is also caused by added fat. Okay, which comes from animal products. Because the fat, what happens is you get these what they call I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank. There's the name, but it's the fat breaks down and actually goes into your cells.
Yes.
And that plugs the cell up. So when the insulin brings the sugar, the glucose to your cell, the cell there's no room in there. So we want to get rid of all those kinds of fats. Okay, no animal fats, minimal, and also from fat content or calorie content, there's 4 calories per gram in carbs and protein. There's 9 calories per gram.
Yes.
Okay, so fats are the most calorie dense kind of foods. We want to focus more on nutrient versus calorie dense. Okay, so and let me just show you this if you can see this. You can see here, this shows you what 500 calories are. Okay, this is 500 calories. And you can see over here the oil is only a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, and that you can see it doesn't take up much room, but that's 500 calories. The next is cheese. Okay, cheese, dairy products, extremely high calorie dense. The next is meat. Okay, but again, when you're looking at 500 calories here, but when you take a look over here, the first one here is potatoes, rice, and beans, and this one is fruits and veggies. They have more bulk to them.
Yes.
And they have more fiber. See, and more nutrients to them. So we want to eat more. So from a calorie standpoint, the more plants that we have, we can eat more plants. There's so much fiber in them that it just goes right through us, which is great. Okay. People have even said to me, and now I had lost a lot of weight, but now people even say to me, you look like you lost even more weight. Yeah, I have, because I've changed my whole diet. Before I lost weight by eating the proper balance of food, the right foods and the proper balance of foods. Now I'm keeping it off and losing even more, and I'm even trying to, because now I'm eating all the right foods. Okay, so we have them listed in actually I'm going to send you a copy of this. Shows you low calorie, moderate calorie, and high calorie density. So you'll be able to see the foods that are higher in calorie density, like meat, cheese, nuts, seeds, fats, oils, cereals, granola, energy bars, cookies, chips. They're all higher calories. Notice I said nuts and seeds too. Nuts are great, but they're also fats. They're very high in calories as well too. Moderate are whole grains. Actually, what's even better than whole grain is better, but actually sprouted is even better than that.
Yes.
Okay. Dried fruit, avocados, hummus. Those are good. Some of those are good, but they're moderate. So you keep those more in moderation. But foods like whole grains. Now, I say whole grain bread versus whole grains themselves. Whole grain breads because they got a lot of stuff in it, but whole grains themselves like rice and quinoa and buckwheat and all those things. That's the whole grain. Okay? That's the way our body was meant to eat. Those things have so much fiber, and it will really clean your system out. Whole fruit, non-starchy vegetables, starchy vegetables, legumes. I put a combination of legumes. I'm sorry, of lentils and mung beans.
Yes.
Okay, and then I put this seasoning in it. Okay, and that's great protein. Those are fantastic protein. Nuts, beans and legumes and things like that. Those are fantastic protein. Okay, and so and here's what I have for breakfast every day.
Okay.
Every day I have 1 cup dried of whole grain, whole oats. Okay, oatmeal.
Like steel cut, you mean?
Steel cut. No, I use the old-fashioned oats, which is steel cut's better, but I use a lot of times the old-fashioned, but it's the whole grain.
Yes.
Okay? I don't have 30 minutes to make the others. That's why I make it.
Yes.
And again, I use organic, non-GMO and organic. Then I buy from BJ's. I buy a big thing of organic frozen berries.
Yes.
Different kinds of berries. There's blackberries. There's strawberries.
Yes.
Raspberries. But I get the frozen ones. I get a cup full of those in there. Sometimes a little bit more. Then I put about 3/4 cup of about a half a cup to 3/4 cup of sunflower seeds. Then I put a quarter cup. So a half of a quarter cup, so 1/8 to 1/4 cup of the seeds. Then I put a 1/4 cup of sliced almonds and a 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts.
Okay.
Because your nuts are your fats.
Okay. Almonds and
great source of fiber as well. Okay, so having that oatmeal with the fruit, okay, and the nuts and the seeds in there, you get a great combination, a great protein fat combination in that. Okay. I have that for breakfast every single morning.
Okay.
I prepare. I take the frozen berries, and I put that and the nuts and the seeds and all that. I put that the night before, put it in the refrigerator. So that way in the morning the berries are frozen. I mean they're thawed out, and then the next morning I put the water in. I put the oatmeal in, and in like 5 minutes, doesn't take long.
Okay.
So the idea is is to have more, and don't let anyone tell you that fiber is bad for you, okay? Or too much fiber. You'll know. Nobody said you have to go from 10 grams of fiber to 100 grams of fiber.
Yes.
No, but if you start to increase a little bit, if you add, say, 5-10 grams of fiber a day, you'll totally adjust to it. People who go from 10 grams to 50 grams in a day, yes, they're going to have some digestive issues because the body's like, oh,
yes, yes.
Going here. But if you add a little bit more every day, then your body will now it adjusts to it, and you'll have a nice bacteria gut back. You'll really work your microbiome there. Okay, so that's really the way to do it. Okay, the other thing I mentioned too is to have, if you take a plate and you divide it into three sections. Well, I'm sorry, you divide it in half first. Plate and you divide it in half. This half, the half part, is all fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. More vegetables than fruit, only because fruit does, although it's a good sugar, but it still has a little bit higher sugar. But the vegetables are going to have less sugar and more fiber. Okay, so one half, and that could be your lettuce, your spinach, or your broccoli, or your tomatoes, or your peas, or your carrots, or your cucumbers, maybe sliced apples, onion, different things that you're going to have. And they're so low in calorie, but that's should half your plate. Now, on the other side, the other half, you divide that in half. The top half of that plate are your plant proteins. Now, that could be chickpeas. It could be almonds. It's like, say, your nuts, some of your nuts. It could be your lentils, your mung beans, edamame, things like that. That's your plant protein. Black beans, red beans, things like that. That's your plant proteins. And then on the bottom part is going to be your whole grains.
Okay.
That's going to be your, some quinoa or some buckwheat or some millet or something like that. Don't use white rice. You want to get wild rice or brown rice or, again, all organic and non-GMO. Okay? And if you mix your plate like that, also another great plant protein is tofu. But actually, But again, the only way that you want tofu is it has to be organic and non-GMO.
Okay.
Best is fermented.
Okay.
Like tempeh.
Yeah, tempeh.
So, things like that. Tempeh is great if you get organic, non-GMO tempeh. And there are some great sources to get those. But probably 98% of the soy in this country is GMO.
Yes.
Non-organic. So you get non-GMO, organic. My girlfriend's been making so much stuff with that, and I'm telling you, I was not a tofu fan, but the way she makes things now, unbelievable.
Yeah.
You would never know that when we finish a meal, look at each other and go, I didn't miss the meat at all.
No, yeah.
And it's a plant. It's a complete protein. So mixing and matching those. So if you have that in your plate, and plus water too, but you don't want water with your meal. You want before.
Yes.
Or after.
Yeah.
Okay? And no ice water, because I'm sure you're from France.
What about juicing, like veggie juicing?
The problem with juicing is you lose the fiber. And you lose, and usually people who juice are protein deficient. They're usually low in protein.
Okay.
So there's really no need to juice.
Okay.
I would say it's okay to juice as part of a meal, but not in place of.
Okay.
Because usually juicing is very low in protein. And again, it really is low because because that juicing is, you've lost a lot of that fiber content.
Okay.
So you want plants whole.
Yes.
This whole idea of, you can steam your veggies. Okay, and of course staying away from fried, obviously. But your steamed veggies, your baked tofu, baked. Baking is great stuff. Okay, but it's like steamed veggies is awesome for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then you can have some raw veggies also, because again, that's the roughage. But your
Yes.
raw veggies are going to be more toward things like your leafy green vegetables. And
Yes.
things like that. But your harder vegetables like your broccoli, your cauliflower, your carrots, things like that, those actually are better to be steamed.
Okay.
So though, if you work your plate up that way in 3 parts like that, again, if you start off with 1 meal a day and then go to 2 meals a day and 3 meals a day, I have as an example what I use for snacks. I get organic celery, cut it up into strips, okay, put them in a big bowl. I get some organic red, yellow, and green peppers, slice those up. I'll get some little baby carrots, and I mix them all in there. And then I'll get some organic hummus.
Okay.
That's my snack. I'll have that as a dip.
Okay.
Okay, and you want to make sure in the hummus, again, you mentioned also that you read labels. You want to make sure there's no extra stuff in there. It has only what it needs to. Okay, so there's things like that you can get, and that's a great snack. Get some organic natural peanut butter, or almond butter, and you can take your celery or your apples.
Yes, yes.
Great source of protein in those too. Okay. So these are ways in which you can make the changes. Okay. But you start putting some meals together. I'm going to send you out 2 forms.
Okay.
One is a description of this plate and a couple things of how to get started. And then the other one, just so you see the difference in the values of the foods. Okay, I'll send those to you. And then you start with that and my girlfriend goes online and finds these vegan recipes. Be careful of the word vegan, by the way. I use that word vegan very carefully, very sporadic. I don't usually use that. I usually use plant-based, because you can be vegan and live on Oreos and French fries.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's more about, that's why you got to read those labels. Whole food plant-based means nothing's added, nothing's taken away. Okay? So you can look for there's some great recipes.
Yes, yes.
That you can find that are vegan type recipes, and start playing with it. That's what my girlfriend's been doing. She's just been playing with it. She puts stuff there, and now during a time when you have this time, this is a time to play.
Yes, 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 yes.
And then the other suggestion, the last thing I want to mention with this part is, if you would do like once a week, do your cooking.
Yes, yes. Usually it's what I do.
So you meal plan. So you meal plan for the week. Put them in the freezer the night before, you just take it out. Then there's no excuse. Okay, and then you prepare. We have something we call MRFK, which is a mobile readiness food kit, meaning that when you leave in the morning, you have food with you. You don't ever leave home without having stuff with you. So you have like a cooler, and in that cooler you've got some non-perishable foods. You have some nuts, some seeds, some fruit, and then you have, say, something you prepared that you can put it in the microwave and you can warm it up. You've got different things you can put in the way you never get stuck without food. And always have those foods. And while you're doing this, I want you to keep a log of what you're eating.
Okay.
That way you can present to me and say, these are what my meals are. I can tweak the meals if I see what you're eating.
Okay.
So just jot down every snack, everything, so I can see and I can tweak it from there. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the nutrition part. You understand that part, right?
Yeah. You were going to tell me which fruit I should not include in the diet. At one point, you were going to say some fruit. Like, what about banana? Is okay
Fruit
or no?
is great.
Yeah. Banana is okay.
Banana is fine.
Okay. Okay.
Banana is fine. You might want a half a banana.
Yes.
But but to say I can't eat bananas,
Mm-hmm.
if every time that you eat, if you have a half a banana and some nuts,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
it balances itself out. You have two blood sugar hormones. You got insulin and glucagon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Carbohydrates are going to increase your blood sugar. Therefore, it's going to cause a release of the insulin.
Mm-hmm.
But your proteins and fats are going to slow down your digestion. So it's going to
Okay.
balance it out.
Okay.
Okay? So it won't spike it. It's a great way to keep from spiking blood sugar
Mm-hmm.
is by having a protein and fat along with your fruit, and you'll find that your blood sugar balance will stay much more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Because the proteins release what's called glucagon, which raises
Mm-hmm.
so even there, it's very rare, if any, to see people who are whole food plant-based eaters who are diabetic. That blows the whole theory of
yes.
fruit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever they eat, they always have a combination.
Okay.
Protein, fat, PFC, protein, fat. Your protein to carb level should be about the same.
Okay.
And a little bit of fats.
Mm.
Not a lot, but a little bit. Because sometimes people who eat lots of nuts and seeds, all of a sudden they wait, but they're healthy. Yeah, but they're high in fat.
Yes, okay.
A little bit of fat. So more protein and carb along with it, and then a little bit of fat. Slows the digestion down and will keep your blood sugar hormones imbalanced.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
so how many meals do you do through the day? Like in the morning, then a snack around mid-morning?
Generally what I tell people to do is, first off, you should eat within about an hour after you get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You should have 3 good meals, but don't make your meals like big stuff, big breakfast, big lunch, big dinner. If you space your meals out, then it's going to be a lot better for you. I'm finding that since I'm plant-based, I eat more per day, but my meals have been very light. I don't eat a lot anymore. My digestive system has grown accustomed to this. So where I used to be able to eat a whole big plate, I can't do that anymore. I have smaller portions.
Okay.
But what I have is packed with nutrients. Okay. And then I'll snack during the day. But when I snack during the day, it's all, having fruit and some nuts, or or say like I said, I'll sit watch TV. I'll have some cut up veggies with the hummus and things like that. So those are the kinds of things you want as your snacks.
Okay.
Okay. But again, think of a baby. Okay. So you want to eat smaller meals, but spread through the day. If you eat maybe like every 3-4 hours at a time. Now I'm also finding during this coronavirus time that I'm even eating less time because I am sitting more. I'm not running around all over the place. So I'm not eating as much. So actually I'm eating less now because I don't have that physical requirement. I do cycle. So I cycle long. So I will tend to days that I cycle maybe have a little bit more. Not throughout the day, but like before and after I'll eat a little bit more. I still eat regular throughout the day. So that's why you want, and these are one of those things you've got to play with it a little bit, that you'll find that the more as your body starts growing accustomed to this, nothing's immediate. But if you start going more plant-based, you'll find that within the first couple of weeks, your body will start to change. Okay? That you'll start to have more energy. Now, I will tell you this, there is, by the way, flax seeds, chia seeds, awesome protein and fats. Okay? So awesome. Ground flax seeds, not whole flax. Yes. Ground flax seeds, chia seeds, awesome.
Hemp seed?
I'm sorry?
Hemp seed?
Hemp seeds are great also. Yes, great source of protein. Yes, yes. The flax seeds and omega seeds give you more of the omega-3 fatty acids that your body needs too. But one thing that people who are whole food plant-based, or even they say vegans, the one thing they are deficient in is B12.
Yes, yes.
Okay, because B12, B12 comes from the soil.
Yes.
It doesn't,
But
we get it from the animal because the animal's eating from the soil.
yes, yes,
Unfortunately, our soil is not the same as it was.
exactly.
We're not eating from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We're buying the vegetables and everything from
Yeah.
the store where they've been washed 100 times.
Yes.
So you're not getting it. So having a B12 supplement, but what I've also learned is our B12 requirement is not as much as you think it is.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to have mega doses of B12.
Okay.
The requirement is only about 2,500 units per week.
Per week. Okay.
Per week. Okay, so sometimes you'll see these supplements that have 5,000 units per day.
Yeah.
That's too much. Your body doesn't.
So, which type do you use for yourself? Like a liquid or?
What's that?
Is it a liquid form or like a
liquid form? You can get liquid form. You can get capsule form. You can also get it in fortified foods like nutritional yeast.
Yes. Okay.
That has it too.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah. But there's but B12. You can get it whatever form is most comfortable for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it. You can get it in like a capsule, tablet, liquid.
Okay.
You can get fortified foods with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, also like nutritional yeast is a great source of these kinds of things. But usually about maybe 56 up, I would say no more. No, the only way would be if you were deficient in vitamin B12, then you could take something of say up to about 1,000 milligrams per day.
Okay.
A lot of times you see people going, and I see in the office that they're going for their B12 shots.
Yes.
Getting mega doses.
It's
not going to use that. And the only reason why a person would need it is if they're deficient. So these people going in who are not plant-based eaters, they're eating regular foods and going in and spending $100, $150 for this shot of B12, they're throwing the money out the window. Yeah, their body doesn't need that much. Okay, I've been researching this a lot as well too. Okay, so this is how I want you to start.
Okay.
The other thing we'll get into, we'll get into next time is more of things that you can do for your sleep. Yes. We'll start off today with the nutrition. I'll send you these things out, and then the next time we'll talk more of how to get that good night's sleep without having to take anything. Okay, and some techniques that you can use to manage your stress. Okay? I've been using both of them, and they're wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
But start. I only usually charge for the meetings here, but I don't charge for. You can send me as many emails, as many text messages, whatever you want. Ask me questions, however you want.
Okay. Okay.
And set a time where we can actually sit and talk more.
Yes.
But I know I gave you a lot of information. And actually, what I'm going to do, I recorded this, so I'm going to record it.
Yes. Okay.
So
okay.
let me go and shut this recording off. Stop recording.
So